I actually got to experience No Lift NEMT. So Travis
Really?
and his partner at the NEMT conference, they actually did it for me. I was there and they transferred me.
It was probably the best investment we've ever made, quite honestly.
Best investment you've ever made. No Lift NEMT. Welcome back to NEMT Experts. I've got Todd Northcutt, the owner of Hadaway Transport in Illinois. Todd, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good meeting you in person last week at the NEMT conference.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So Hadaway Transport started as a high school project 13 years ago. And since then, you've been running this completely private pay NEMT business, very mission oriented. Todd, can you tell us about the origin story?
Yes, definitely. So my grandmother had gone to her high school reunion and she fell down and broke her hip, and she was in her mid 70s. And she didn't do too well with therapy, so she just was confined to a wheelchair. We couldn't find transportation for my grandmother. There were some crazy things. There was an ambulance company that wanted to charge us $800 to take her to a doctor's appointment. And the other option was a little creepy. There was a small town funeral home that was giving people's rides in the funeral home vehicle, which both options were not ideal. So we just purchased a wheelchair accessible van for my grandmother. And I was in high school at the time taking a business ed class, and we had to write a business plan for our business. We could come up with any business we want. And at that time, a lot of the taxi companies were leaving Bloomington for like the rideshare companies coming in. And I decided to write a business plan for a wheelchair taxi to provide taxi service for wheelchair customers. And I took that to my parents, and my mom had been running a cleaning company for probably about 30 years. And my dad was a cook at the hospital. And he was chatting with one of the caseworkers at the hospital while in the line at the cafeteria. And she's like, we really actually do need a service like that. And my dad filled out all the paperwork and that and made it a legitimate business, found insurance, all that. And it ran like my mom would do transports all morning, and then my dad would get off work at the hospital and do them all evening, and then she would go to cleaning the houses. So they like ran one van owner operator for probably eight or so years. And then I went off and did my own thing. I went to college. I wanted to go, kind of just do my own thing. And when 2020 happened, I actually lost my job to COVID. And, I was like on unemployment, and I went to my dad. I'm like, hey, can I just pick up some transports here and there? And he said, sure. And we ended up being the only company in our area that would transport people with the virus. And that was on me. So for 9 months straight, I only drove COVID patients. And it was quite the adventure, because people like on dialysis, for example, had to go 45 minutes away for treatment if they had COVID. But yeah, we humbly started with just one van that we got for probably $2,500, I think it was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so 13 years later, Hadaway Transport is going strong. You do 100% private pay work. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And you work largely directly with healthcare facilities in your area in Illinois, right?
Yeah, so our biggest group is contracting with nursing homes and hospitals. And then our second group is just people out of their private homes and such. And then we're also, we work with agencies like a hospice agency to kind of, we do these trips called last wishes. Like I took a farmer to go drive through his cornfield during harvest while he was on hospice. And, just like little special trips like that. Cause I really, I like keeping it like the family oriented, that's how we started and that's why we're here, like all based on family. So just, and just building those relationships with all these facilities and hospitals.
I love it. Well, one of the ways, Todd, that you were mentioning to me that you're building the relationship and making it easier for the facilities and hospitals to send you rides. Can you share about that?
Yeah, so we finally decided on Bambi software, and I was able to set up facility logins for all these facilities. And two facilities in particular, after we gave them that login, these facilities don't have their own vehicles. So they outsource, and there's about 3 companies in the area. We ended up getting 100% of their trips, and any trips that we can't do, like I like to call the leftover ones, then that's when they call the other companies to do those trips. And it shocked me. And it all just came down to just ease of access for those people. They're busy, those front desk people at these nursing homes that do the scheduling for trips. Just ease. They're just able to copy and paste everything from their software, and they like being able to see all the trips they have to like verify without having to make a phone call, and just a lot of back and forth. Easy to cancel the trips. So we ended up just getting all of their business after doing that.
How much of their business did you have before you gave them the Bambi facility login?
Yeah, so the one facility I'm thinking of, we probably did 4 trips a week, and now we're probably doing about 15 for that one facility, and that's round trips. So it went up quite a bit. It's a small nursing home, so it's they were having, like, throughout the week they were having 3 or 4 companies in and out, and like taking the wrong patients because it was so confusing with so many different transportation companies in and out the door, that it's really streamlined everything.
So before, you were doing 4 round trips for them per week, is it?
Yeah, or even less, like sometimes it'd be just 1 or wouldn't hear from them at all, but on average it was 3 or 4. Yeah.
So let's say it was 4, like they would literally call you 4 times on the phone each week and send you the information and ask if you could do the trip, right?
Yep.
And now you get 15 round trips from them per week. And how many times do they call you on the phone per week?
Probably like once, honestly, like once a week. Because what they're doing now is they developed a system, instead of figuring out their schedule for next week, when they get an appointment, they just go ahead and schedule it. So we have appointments all the way into January from some of these facilities that they've already scheduled, because it's done. They don't have to worry about it anymore.
That is awesome.
Yes.
While we're on the topic, you had come across Bambi at the NEMT conference last year, which is when you were sort of evaluating different NEMT softwares to use for Hadaway. What was that process like? What were your factors in deciding which NEMT software you'd use?
Yeah, so we weren't using any software at all. We were running 3 vans at that time, and it was starting to get difficult. With like 2 vans, it wasn't that hard to like schedule it. It wasn't that bad. But as we started to grow, I was like, I really wanted to future-proof the company as we grew. I didn't want to try to get software when we're already too big, and stuff like that. So I decided I had already picked a phone software for Hadaway that was absolutely terrible. So I was scared of picking a bad software again. So I did a demo with every company that was at NEMT plus companies that weren't there, and took all my notes and compiled pro con sheets, and went even as far as just the body language and how the company presented themselves, and just I'm really big on impressions, first impressions and all that. And
so what you're saying is Bambi has the moves.
Yes. And it's kind of funny. Bambi was the first company I talked to. I could have saved a lot of time if I just went with my gut, but a lot of pros, cons, looking at all of them. Some of them were honestly like really hard to use, and working with my mom, who's not that great with technology, just needing something, not having time to try to figure out a software. It's funny. I had my nephew. He tells me he's going to take over the company someday. He's in 2nd grade. And I let him put in 2 trips into Bambi, and he was able to figure it out. So it was easy to use. It looked nice. And one thing that really bothered me when I was talking to some of these companies was they're telling me, they're used to companies with like 30, 100 vehicles, And when I was talking to them, it's kind of like they didn't really care for my business or want it because I'm a smaller company, they're really not going to make much money off of me. So they really kind of didn't care that I was talking to them. And that bothered me, because if your software is good enough, my company is going to grow with it and you will make money. So I don't know, be nice to me. So, yeah, it was a hard decision. By the end of, like second week of October, I had already interviewed all the companies. I made a decision by November. So
I just want to point out and emphasize this. We have a second grader using Bambi.
yes.
I love it. I love it. That's how easy it is. You are soon rather hiring someone to be a dispatcher for your company. And I love the story of this. Can you just tell us about your new dispatcher?
Yes. Our new dispatcher is actually a customer. He has been riding with Hadaway for quite a few years. When my dad was alive, we've taken him as far as Oregon, all through the New England area, all through the South states. He takes a very long trip where he books our van for the entire day or 3 days at a time, just going on these long distance trips. And he had lost his job a few months ago. Just the company eliminated the position. And I was noticing I drove him to probably 20 job interviews and no one's hiring him. And it just clicked on me one day, like they can't look past his disability. And then I, at that same time, was really struggling with, I'm using a offshores call center for taking our trips. And it's not necessarily working out that well. I was like, wait, it just like clicked in my brain. He's got a degree in radio broadcasting and then a master's degree in HR. And I'm like, why don't I hire him for the dispatcher? Because who's going to know my customers more than a customer in itself? And I'm able to look past somebody's disability. There's ways to work around things. He's okay with me saying this. He has cerebral palsy. So he has really good control of one hand, but not the other. And there's a agency in the state of Illinois for adaptive equipment where if you need certain adaptive equipment for work, they will cover it. So they hooked him up with an adjustable height desk that works well with his wheelchair, a special mouse, a keyboard that's made just to use one hand on it. It's curved in a way to work with it. And I set him up to work from home so he doesn't have to worry about transportation, even though that's not a concern. Getting to and from an office, like if a caregiver didn't show up in the morning, stuff, he could still get to work. It's been his first week. We just started, and so far so good. Bambi did a demo for him. I just wanted him to meet you guys and just try to see if there's anything I forgot to tell him about with the software and stuff. And so far so good. Yeah.
So far so good. That is awesome. You got some new ventures coming up for the business. You're going to be signing up with your first broker soon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that like for expanding the business? You're going to be maybe getting some more vehicles?
Yeah, so we're in Central Illinois. So we're mainly in Bloomington, Illinois, and then Peoria, Illinois had a company that only did broker work, went out of business. And there's currently the broker is bringing companies down from Chicago and really far away just to do these trips across town because there's so many of them that need it. So I didn't contact the broker; they contacted me, which was weird. They were like, "Hey, we see you've been in business for a while. Are you interested in contracting with us?" So it's been a lot of negotiating the prices because I was a little shocked at the price differentials between what we charge and what they pay. But I'm nervous about it because not many people have spoke good things about it, but I'm also excited about being able to serve a broader range of customers that really need this transportation, but can't afford it, because doing this type of business private pay, it is expensive. So I am excited about broader range, adding more vans, adding more employees.
Nice. Speaking of adding more vans, so that was sort of one of your main goals for this past NEMTAC conference, is figuring out your new vans and new conversions. Have you sort of figured out what factors you'd like and like what direction you're moving with the new vans?
Yeah, so right now with our 4 vans, every single one I have is a different conversion. And it just kind of somehow worked out that way. So I know what I really like in this one and what I really hate in this one. And able to look at these companies and know, like, because when we were brand new, it's like, oh, it's a wheelchair van. Okay. You don't really think about how a lot of things don't work. And like, just like the ability of like the back seats to fold up for more room for the wheelchair, stuff like that. So really keying in on that, trying to figure out which conversions we want and what brand of vehicles we want. And yeah, it's because we never bought a brand new one, and we are buying a few brand new ones. So so everything's a new adventure. Yeah.
Cool. What do you sort of see as the next, 2 years of the business, the next 5 years? You've been doing this for, I mean, Hadaway's been around for 13 years. So you guys have had longevity. I know you were mentioning you've like tapped a lot of the opportunity in your area. Like, where do you see the business in 5 years?
I'm envisioning a larger service area is what I'm seeing, because we're in a rural area of Illinois. We're 3 hours from Chicago, and I'm from a small town in a rural area, and I just know how hard it is for transportation in those areas. And I would love to see us serving all those in between areas. I would like to see about 10 vehicles in that time frame. And I was talking about this with, I'm a part of a nonprofit group, and one of their goals is to be a household name. And I'm like, that's really how I envision Hadaway, to be a household name. Like, everyone knows this name, like how everyone knows Coca-Cola type thing, for Central Illinois. And my family's always just had small businesses, and it's just kind of in my blood to work for myself and do all that. That's what I'm seeing, for just kind of expanding our service area.
Awesome. And I mean, you mentioned that the dispatcher that you currently have, I mean, he's a customer who you took to Oregon, you took to the Northeast, like, so you kind of already have like pretty much the entire country as your service area to some extent, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because we actually do a lot of long distance trips. It's mainly people that don't want to fly. So moving family members to a nursing home closer to their daughter. So we took someone to North Carolina a few weeks ago, or I'm sorry, months ago, because we purchased the stretcher alternative chair by Broda through Travis with no lift EMT. And that's what we drive them in. And that's been something that's really set our company apart from our competition, is that we advertise it as the most comfortable ride in town, because it truly is the most comfortable ride possible. She pretty much slept the whole way to North Carolina, 16-hour drive. So
can you tell us more about this no lift NEMT that you use? Do you use it only for long distance trips, or do you use it locally too?
We have one van completely dedicated to it, and it does hospital transfers all day long. It does on average about 3 to 4 trips a day, just with that wheelchair. I made friends with a lot of the hospital caseworkers and stuff, and getting ambulances is quite difficult in our area. So people are waiting at the hospital like 5 days to get discharged, but we'd be able to pop in there the same day and get them to the nursing home. Especially like in our area, there'll be a lot of people that it's a big chain of hospitals. So people keep getting transferred hospital to hospital. Before they know it, they're 150 miles away from home. So when they finally get ready to get discharged from the hospital, they're like far away. And then nursing home bed availability is difficult right now. So even if somebody is just a standard wheelchair, they'll book us because the chair is more comfortable and it's a lot safer to do that longer trip in, because they really don't want those readmitted within 30 days into their facility is a big thing with Medicare, that they do not want people readmitted. And there was an incident with another company where people were constantly falling out of the wheelchairs. And knowing that it's near impossible to fall out of that wheelchair was like a really big selling feature for them.
That is awesome. So I want to give a special shout out to Travis Draney of No Lift NEMT, who we were hanging out with at the NEMT conference last week as well. Todd, can you just give us like a short description of like, how does the No Lift NEMT system work that you use? And
yeah,
I assume that your competitors in the area, they don't offer this service, right? That's like how, it's one of your differentiation points.
Yeah, they don't. And a big thing with our competition I would like to mention is they pretty much only do broker work and then some private pay. So I can see why this chair isn't something they'd want to invest in, because it really wouldn't benefit them that much, because it really is good with the facility contracts and private pay. But the chair works as it will take a passenger that would typically ride in an ambulance and turn them into a wheelchair passenger. It's able to lay flat to do the lateral slide transfer, multiple different ways to adjust them into the seat, up to 350-pound weight limit, which is very good. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else about that chair. The comfort is the biggest thing with that chair. Is people that have bed sores or they just had like major surgery, and like before we were just using these standard wheelchairs to transfer people. And I was talking to, when we first got the chair, and they were like, well, she doesn't need this chair. She can ride in a standard chair, Well, she's going to a nursing home for therapy. And in my opinion, the time to practice getting out of bed and into a chair and all that transferring and such isn't when they are transferring to that facility, because you don't want anything to happen in that journey. I don't want someone falling as they're trying to get into a chair on their way to therapy. Now they're getting another surgery. That way we're able to get them in the chair to the facility, or able to get evaluated by the physical therapist before they realize like, okay, they're going to be using a walker or a cane or this type of wheelchair. I went on a little tangent there, but basically it just ease of transferring, slide transfers for that chair. And the seatbelt harnesses are built into it. So it's pretty much just roll in the van, hook the straps to the floor, and then just add one additional seatbelt. So it's also much faster, because there has been times that we were waiting at the hospital 45 minutes just to get someone transferred because they need another hospital staff member to come, and it takes 3 people to stand them up and move them into a chair. Now it just takes 2 people, me or one of my drivers, plus 1 hospital staff to slide them into that chair.
Totally. And, I actually got to experience No Lift NEMT. So Travis
really
and his partner at the NEMT conference, they actually did it for me. I was there, and they transferred me onto the stretcher and lifted up the chair. So what you're saying right now, like, I just been through that.
Definitely.
It's really what they say it is and what you say it is. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, it was probably the best investment we've ever made, quite honestly.
Best investment you've ever made. No Lift NEMT.
It was about 9 months turnaround on making our money back on it, because it is a large investment, and it took about us 9 months to break even on it.
Okay, nice. And how long have you had it?
We got it December of 2023, so about 2 years.
Nice.
I would like to touch a little bit on, like, I assume there's a lot of companies that are just starting out that's watching this podcast, and getting involved in your community is a big thing with a company like this. Like, for anybody that's wanting to start something like this, like, look into your chamber of commerce. I joined ours, and then they had a young professionals group, and that's where I met a lot of the caseworkers that give us transports now, and that's where I met our insurance agent. And these look into the programs your state has, like hiring Brad with his disability. He was able to get all that equipment for free, and it's probably almost $2,000 worth of equipment. Like, there's lots of streams and like resources you can find. Almost every town has a small business administration that will give you a coach. I have a job, a coach or mentor. That's what I'm looking for, the word, who's been phenomenal with helping me with my business. And she's not in a business that's anything like this one, but still that knowledge of being someone that's an entrepreneur for 50 years is what she is very beneficial. But I just kind of wanted to point all that out. I go to the senior expos in our town just to meet the people. Recently, we've started to get like our second generation of customers. I drove someone just the other day that's like, "Oh, I remembered you guys because you drove my mom like 9 years ago." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So that's a little scary, getting our second generation of customers. So
wow. Words of wisdom for NEMT businesses that are just starting out.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Todd, thank you so much. Looking forward to the continued expansion and success of Hadaway Transport in Central Illinois, which happens to be where I was born and grew up. So
yes.
Near and dear to my heart.
And I would also like to say, Hadaway is our family name, but you always have a way with Hadaway.
You always have a way with Hadaway.
Yes.
Love the branding. Nice.
Run, Bambi, run.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd.